Welcome to Celestial Insights, a weekly podcast that brings the stars down to earth. I'm your host, astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks. My purpose is to provide practical, unique, and insightful guidance to help you navigate the energies of the week like a boss. This is Celeste of Astrology by Celeste, and on this episode, I will discuss the astrology for the week of July 13th, 2025. My friend and colleague Stormie Grace is a brilliant astrologer who's having a YouTube challenge. She has a successful YouTube channel, and she is giving a training over 6 weeks in order to help people grow their YouTube. So if you want to join, you can sign up with my affiliate link below. I am actually going to join this challenge as well because I do want to spend more time developing my YouTube channel. It starts August 2nd, and I hope to see you there. First up, let's take a look back at astrology in action. On July 4th, there were some big energetic shifts. Venus met Uranus at 29 Taurus. That's the last degree of the sign. It's the degree of crisis and decay. Taurus rules Earth as well as resources like money. And Venus rules parties and recreation. Uranus brings shocks and awe and upheaval. Story number 1 was a tragedy where there were flash floods in Texas, and because of the defunding of the National Weather Organization, NOAA, the alerts were not given as early as they normally are. The Trump administration has taken away a lot of funding for government organizations that protect the people in order to give a tax cut back to the wealthiest among us. It was an unbelievable tragedy. Over 100 people have died, and 27 girls were in a cabin at a camp, and it washed away down the Guadalupe River. On the same day of that Venus-Uranus, Neptune stationed retrograde. So there was this massive flooding. Neptune rules the oceans, and when it's triggered, water can often be an issue. And on the same day, Venus went into Gemini. Gemini rules young people, Venus girls, and there was news throughout the weekend about the tragedy of these girls. Not all of the girls were killed. There was a couple who were found alive, but it was a huge tragedy for Texas and the United States. And on Monday, the day Uranus went into Gemini, it was a top story on the news. The second story was that Elon Musk tweeted out to his followers asking them to take a poll on whether or not they wanted another political party. They said yes. And so he set up another political party called the America's Party that is supposed to be for people in the middle. Now, I told people on the podcast to be mindful with Venus, Uranus, and Neptune on the same day, to watch out for overindulging in substances because that could be like cloudy thinking. But he did this. He set up this political party, and the president of the United States is furious, and there could be repercussions for Elon where he potentially could lose some of his government contracts or his citizenship. But hell hath no fury. And he is extremely angry about whatever went on with him and the president. So those are two stories that both encompass that energy of Venus, Uranus, and Neptune stationing on the same day, different aspects of the two planets. So with Elon, Venus rules parties, so it's a new political party. Uranus rules elections. And in Taurus, it will cost him well over $1 billion to set this up. We'll see what happens. We're in the shadow of Mercury retrograde. The next thing I want to let you know is King Solomon's Judgment was the episode title. Thank you to Stacy, who is a listener of the podcast. She sent me an email on the day of Uranus moving into Gemini about an art exhibit called King Solomon's Baby. And it's this huge baby that someone has created, and they can cut it up into 1,000 pieces and sell it off as many as 1,000 different bidders who want a piece of this art. It is a wild story that coincides. So King Solomon is in the energy. The leader of Israel is at the White House this week. I'm taping this on Monday, so I don't know if there's additional stories about Benjamin Netanyahu. All I've heard so far is he's nominating President Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize. Most people are thinking there's no way they're going to give it to him, but I am wondering if behind the scenes so much pressure is being put on Europe that somehow they give it to him to keep the United States in NATO, because Jupiter is stationing on his Venus, which could suggest he gets some kind of award that he likes. I hope that's not it. We shall see what happens in November when they're announced. There may be something going on that the impossible actually happens. Your cosmic advantage begins with the Wise Skies digital calendar, with descriptions for every planetary and lunar event. All levels of astrology enthusiasts can enjoy the calendar on any device and now in many languages. With this superpower in your back pocket, you will be fully equipped to understand the astrological weather any day of the week. My good friend and collaborator, Tiffany Herlick, creates this calendar every year, and I use it daily. I highly recommend it. Use my coupon code for $10 off. The code is ABC2025. Let the universe have your back with the Wise Skies digital astrology calendar. The theme of this week is a raisin in the sun. And there are three big things I want you to think about as you navigate this week. The first is that we have a disseminating moon at 7 degrees of Pisces. The disseminating moon starts 3.5 days. Each of the moon phases is 3.5 days after the full moon. And it's a time for sharing. And this will be the first moon, disseminating moon, since Uranus has moved into Gemini. So I'm really interested to see what the stories are. Pisces rules deception. It rules weather. It's a water sign, so storms can be what we're talking about. At this time, Saturn and Neptune are both retrograde, so it may be there is some sharing by reporters. Uranus is in the sign of Gemini, so blockbuster reporting, potentially about the taking away of funds and all of the problems and expectations about what's happening for people who are facing tragedies in terms of big storms. So after the Texas floods, right now, as I'm recording this, North Carolina is having intense floods. FEMA is being taken away from the people of the United States, as well as organizations who alert us for tragedies. So states are going to have to take up the mantle to protect themselves. And a couple of days before the flood in Texas, I kept getting Noah's Ark. So we shall see if like with Jupiter in Cancer, if in certain parts of the country, it just rains and rains. I'm really interested to see what is shared during this disseminating moon. In North Carolina, there are a lot of plants that make pharmaceuticals. And these are places that did not have to deal with hurricane type storms in the past. But as these storms are not being broken when they hit land, they're moving farther inland with intensity because of climate change. We're seeing more devastation. The next thing I want to make you aware of is we have a last quarter moon at 25 degrees of Aries. Aries is a fire sign. It rules conflict, competition. It's inspired, dynamic. There's something youthful about Aries energy. It has a little bit of the nature of the Fool of the tarot card. It can be impulsive. So this is something to be mindful. The last quarter moon is on Thursday. Slow down because there's a potential for a problem, especially driving. The moon, which rules the people, is conjunct Chiron in Aries, Chiron the wounded healer, and Eris in Aries. They're both right around that 25 degrees. So that can be a chaotic event where people get injured, and it may be due to impulsivity. Now, it could also be just a single person. Aries is a sign of I am, and I'm thinking specifically about Elon Musk because of him flying too close to the sun, poking the bear, continually attacking the president about his bill, where this horrible bill that passed that's taking so much money away from the people and giving it to the wealthy, as well as he started his new political party. And he keeps talking about the Epstein list and how Donald Trump is on that more and more. This is like popcorn stuff. It would be entertaining if this wasn't so tragic, what's happening in the United States, the devastation that's coming to especially poor people. This last quarter moon relates back for 2.5 years, back to the new moon at 29 degrees of Aries, where the sun and the moon were both at 29 degrees of Aries on April 19th, 2023. This was a solar eclipse, and this was the eclipse where Fox News settled and paid like $787 million because of all the deception and the misinformation they were spreading at this time. The first quarter moon, where the sun was in Capricorn and the moon was in Aries, was January 17th, 2024. The full moon of this story, where the sun was in Libra and the moon was in Aries, was October 17th, 2024, both at 24 degrees. And this was when Kamala Harris went on, right around when Kamala Harris went on Fox News and did a fantastic job in her interview with Bret Baier, in my opinion. And now we're at the last quarter moon, where the sun is in Cancer and the moon is in Aries, both at 25 degrees on July 17th, 2025. So it'll be interesting if there's something around Fox News that comes up. The sun is at 25 Cancer. This relates to the Four of Cups tarot card, which is a card of apathy, boredom, or discernment. There's someone sitting with their arms crossed. They've got 3 cups behind them, and someone's trying to hand them a 4th cup. They don't want it because they have enough and they're being discerning. So this could be about not taking on too much, just something you can think about with that tarot card. Guests are reading in the library of a luxurious home. This gives me images of comfort and enjoyment. I got just an intuitive hit about people reading Project 2025 and paying attention, waking up and paying attention to what the United States is in for. It's all written down. And the luxurious home would be the White House, and they would be reading Project 2025. They didn't pay attention last year, but people, especially if they're involved in any of these weather tragedies that are just going to go on this year, and now FEMA's gone pretty much, and we don't get the warnings that we used to get. This could be what people are thinking about. And the sun rules the leader, and Cancer rules the homeland. The moon is at 25 degrees of Aries. And Aries is a sign of I am. It's like you're on your own if you're in a storm. And Aries can be about survival. The Four of Wands is the tarot card. And that's a card of celebration. So you may celebrate if you're in a state where the services are pretty integrated, that doesn't rely on the federal government as much. But a man possessed of more gifts than he can hold is the Sabian symbol. And this gives imagery of the uber wealthy. They're celebrating the big, beautiful bill passing because they're getting a huge tax cut. There could be news of corporate greed or people on the take somewhere. There was a big story that coincided with Uranus going into Gemini about Tony Blair, who's a former Prime Minister of England, and his institute is involved with Gaza, with the Gaza Riviera, this horrific plan to move all the people out of Gaza and then turn their land into some kind of rich people's playground. It's obscene. It just came out yesterday. So we'll see if this makes really big news, but I think it should be. I don't know if it will in the US as much, but I would imagine this would be a big scandal in England that Tony Blair is involved with this project. I think it's important to remember to count your blessings, no matter how small. If you have a roof over your head, food to eat, people who love you, good health, whatever, all of your blessings. That's what I'm going to be doing at this last quarter moon, because the unexpected can come out at any moment, as we know, when things happen with Uranus type events where there's sudden upheaval. The last quarter moon is the psychological integration of what came before. So notice if you come up with thoughts about lessons learned, when you've reaped what you've sown, when you've suffered consequences for things you wish you hadn't done. These may be some of the things that are going through your mind around this time. The last thing I want to make you aware of is that Mercury will station retrograde at 15 degrees of Leo on Thursday, the same day as the last quarter moon, July 17th through August 11th. Is going to move back to 4 degrees of Leo. So that area of your chart will get 3 coats of paint, 3 hits. One of my teachers, Rebecca Gordon, called it 3 coats of paint, where there could be a 3-part story. Leo is a fire sign. A big thing, I think, is just we're going to be having intense heat in certain areas of the world. I know Europe has been having really bad heat. It's stationing at 15 Leo, which is a world point. 15 degrees of the fixed signs are world points. So there will be stories that get big attention. Now, Elon Musk has his south node at 15 Leo, and he is in this battle to the end with Donald Trump. And there could be something coming up where he just continues to antagonize the president. And with Mercury stationing retrograde, which brings conflicts and disagreements, delays and collapse of something contemplated. He could say he's changed his mind, I'm not doing the new political party, or he could lose contracts or something like that. But I think he's going to be a part of the story right around this time, and he may continue to sell wolf tickets, is what we call it, through this time. We shall see. I have recommended, and this is what I said when I talked to Kepler, is staying off amusement park rides around this date, because this could be you're stuck in the air upside down, could literally be what we see somewhere in the world. Someone at a theme park and the ride malfunctions. It's blazing hot and people are in the sun broiling from the heat. So that's why it's called a raisin in the sun, because of the potential for intense heat. But Elon Musk is an Icarus type figure. Icarus who flew too close to the sun, and the sun is a leader type figure, and his beeswax melted and he crashed into the sea. And this Icarus asteroid has been highlighted at the time when, at a new moon, when he blew up both of his rockets. Recently, Icarus was highlighted, and it's like almost like he's trying to self-destruct as he interacts and antagonizes the president of the United States. And although Elon's the richest man in the world, the president has a lot of power. So we'll see if he shows up in a story about this Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrogrades are a time to slow down, not start things new if you can help it, not sign really big contracts or buy electronic equipment. It's recommended to do the RE words: rethink, revisit, review, revise, reconnect. You may run into people you haven't seen in a long time, and that can be lovely. Or not. Your ex may slide into your DMs. If you are embarking on a new journey, experiencing a major life event, feeling stuck, trying to make a difficult decision, or just looking to make positive changes, astrology can provide life-changing insights. There are several ways to work with me. You can come for a 60 or 90-minute astrology consultation depending on your needs. Engage in longer-term cosmic success coaching, where we work together on a 3-month basis to help you overcome blocks, improve your life satisfaction, build better relationships, accomplish your career goals, and understand yourself better using the tool of astrology. Or mystic mentoring if you're an aspiring astrologer and want help with chart analysis techniques. Go to astrologybyceleste.com to check out my offerings. If you have any questions, you can email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com. On Sunday, the word of the day is discordant. This week I got songs, and Purple Rain is the song. We start the week with an Aquarius moon. Aquarius is an air sign that rules groups, the collective, friends, and organizations. So notice if there's a little discord between a group of friends or something like that. With Uranus and Gemini, you may be seeing people who formerly were close together start breaking off and having differences of opinion, which is just the energy. It doesn't mean anything's bad. It's just people have different ideas and are moving in different directions. The Pisces moon begins at 4:44 p.m. Pacific time. Pisces is a water sign. Water signs are emotional. There could be a story about flooding or bad weather. Pisces is mutable water. So the first thing the moon, which rules the people, does when it moves into Pisces is start squaring Uranus and Gemini. There can be a little bit of emotional upset, or we could literally see people dealing with water and having to evacuate. On Monday, the word of the day is streamline. The theme of Sesame Street was playing in my head. Sunny days. Dun, dun. And I also wrote down reading rainbow. There's a disseminating moon at 7 degrees of Pisces at 5:47 a.m. Pacific time. I think this is an important disseminating moon. It's a time where you can share what you know. And I wonder if there's going to be something related to book burning or saying people can't read some kind of books. This is what's going on in the United States, that there is all this authoritarian stuff going on. And one of the ways authoritarians like to control people is by limiting art and what people can read and whatnot. So we'll see what happens on this day. The moon squares Venus in Gemini. So that Gemini rules books, and Venus, books that are beloved. And then the moon opposes Mars in Virgo. So it's like Mars severs and separates, and Virgo categorizes things. So I just get the image of some books being categorized and taken away. On Tuesday, the word of the day is eliminate. The song is Supersonic by J.J. Fad. And that is such a Uranus and Gemini song, Supersonic. And maybe this is about eliminating some of Elon Musk's programs that he gets billions in government funding. The moon will meet the North Node in Pisces at 19 degrees. The North Node rules groups. Pisces is a water sign. This feels more like Sesame Street or PBS, but we shall see if something is eliminated. The Aries moon begins at 9:32 p.m. So Pisces is the last sign in the zodiac. Something's always ending. And then we move into Aries, as in there's a new beginning. And when the moon goes into Aries, the first thing it will do is square Saturn and Neptune, which are almost conjunct in Aries, and they're both retrograde. Something's being taken away, or some kind of system is dissolving, and people are activated. People are mad, and they're ready to complain about something, is the feeling I get. Something they've lost with Mars in Virgo, something that was excised or taken from them. And with Aries energy, Aries is a fire sign. This is a great time to get out, move your body, exercise, metabolize the energy. Mars rules Aries, and it's in the sign of Virgo. Or this could be a great day too, if you have a lot of junk food in your cabinet, to take it out and throw it away so that you can have healthier habits. On Wednesday, the word of the day is whistle. The song I got is It's Raining Men by the Weather Girls. That is a classic. And actually, this is the day the moon actually squares Saturn and Neptune. And like, they don't need the umbrella. They've said they're going to go out and get themselves absolutely soaking wet. That's what the Weather Girls say. Because the Aries moon squares Jupiter and Cancer. They're both at 8 degrees. So that's like going out and getting yourself absolutely soaking wet. Somebody may whistle at a good-looking stranger. On Thursday, the word of the day is twister. And I got Come On Baby, Let's Do the Twist by Chubby Checker. Now, with Uranus and Gemini in a smooth, easy-flowing trine to Pluto and Aquarius, bad winds is going to be a story that we hear more and more about. And so what could be happening as we have this last quarter moon at 25 degrees Aries conjunct Chiron in Aries, we could be having some really bad weather. The last quarter moon is at 5:37 p.m. and then Mercury stations retrograde at 9:44 p.m. both in Pacific time at 15 degrees of Leo. So we have the last quarter moon in Aries and we have Mercury stationing retrograde in Leo. And so there's a lot of intensity to this energy. So there could be bad storms. Just be mindful of your conversation because retrogrades can bring delays, reversals, restrictions, conflicts, disagreements, the collapse of what was contemplated. This is a day people are going to be getting into arguments, and somebody's going to feel like they're left out, twisting in the wind. On Friday, the word of the day is bills, and the song is Bills by Destiny's Child. This is the first Taurus moon, which begins at 12:58 a.m. Pacific time. The first Taurus moon in about 7 years where the moon does not meet Uranus. This is wonderful in terms of the moon is exalted in the sign of Taurus, where it can do what it does with ease. So you might notice that this is like a really nice Taurus moon after we get past the square to Pluto at 2 degrees of Aquarius and the moon at 2 degrees of Taurus. So there's some kind of a little bit of upheaval or pulling back the tape. Pluto's retrograde about big money. I feel like karmic debts are coming due. I don't know if tariffs, there's all these new tariffs announced today as I'm taping this, July 7th, but like some country may start selling off US debt, or there could be something around the world where a bank is calling in a marker for a company or country or something like that. And on this day, Mercury retrograde in Leo sextiles Venus in Gemini. They're both at 15 degrees of the respective signs. So they're mutually implying to each other. And in that song, Bills is, can you pay my telephone bill? It's about a woman who's upset because she's with a scrub who is always trying to borrow her car and to take her money. And somebody may say to their paramour, no, you cannot take my car. Gemini rules transportation. And this could bring a conflict between a couple that's chaotic. On Saturday, the word of the day is OOPSIE. So this relationship might have ended over somebody saying, no, you cannot take my car. And the song is Denial is a River by Doechii. I love Doechii. She's so talented. If you haven't heard that song, you may want to listen to it. It's really incredible. On this day, the Cancer sun squares Chiron in Aries, both at 27 degrees. This could be a leader, sun type figure, self-destructs in some way or causes a problem. I'm thinking Elon Musk. He may make big news later in this week about having a problem, or some point this week having a problem because of his attacks against the president of the United States. We shall see. This is a good day to be careful with fire and knives. Aries has associations with sharp, and it's a fire sign. So just be mindful. It's a great time to do some shadow work. You may have some kind of realization. The sun has to do with our own identity, about a wound that you have about yourself. But I hope you have a really beautiful time. Enjoy this Taurus moon and take it easy throughout the weekend. Great time to listen to amazing music. So that's it for this week's episode. Feel free to email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com with any astrology and action stories, or let me know how the daily themes are playing out for you. Take care, and I'll catch you next week. Thank you for listening to Celestial Insights. To learn more about my work, please visit my website, astrologybyceleste.com, where I offer personal readings, horary consultations, cosmic coaching, group events, and classes to help guide people to higher levels of fulfillment. You can also find me on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook at Astrology by Celeste. If you enjoyed Celestial Insights, please help others find the show. Follow, rate it 5 stars, or write a nice review. I would so appreciate it. I'm astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks, and I'll be back next week.